Hey, what's up, everyone? Sorry I haven't been around for a while. I had some crazy stuff going on at work, so just thought I'd do a little video on the way to work about what we see in the Afghanistan situation. I have a lot of thoughts on this on Twitch, my recent videos on Twitch, so you can check it out. But in a nutshell, there's a lot of things that I think that aren't really being discussed. You don't have to be a foreign policy expert, which I'm not, to understand when someone's story isn't adding up. And that's certainly the case that we see right now with the Biden administration. So something I wanted to talk about specifically was the narrative that is, what exactly happened? Did the Biden administration plan on Afghanistan collapsing this fast and the Taliban taking over, or did they not? Either way, it's a complete failure of intelligence. If they did plan on this collapse happening, but it was just quicker than they thought, then one, they were wrong, and second, it leads to a bunch of other horrible things. Or second, if they didn't plan, that just shows how ridiculous our intelligence is. The first thing to say is, as much as there is to complain about Biden, and certainly there's a lot, remember, the people that are now going to try to say we told you so, many of them are going to be the neocons and shitlibs that lied to us for 20 years about the war in the first place. They said, oh, we're having such great success. If we just send another $1 trillion, if we just send more troops, yeah, we'll have this great success. Everything's going good. The Afghan security forces are doing great. This is the same types of lies they tell to get us in these regime change wars in places like Libya, places like Syria, places like Iraq, etc. And they're going to use this, and I've been saying this, they're going to throw Biden under the bus. You're going to start to see it through anonymous sources, but you'll see people do it publicly as well. And you're going to see people from the intel agencies and others saying, oh, we told Biden this was a bad idea. Now we got to send troops back. Now we got to make sure that we don't pull out of other places like Syria. That's going to be what happens. You should reject those people because they were the most wrong. They are the corrupt warmongers. Remember, what has 20 years got us in Afghanistan? Has it benefited the American people? No. We've paid dearly in taxes. Overwhelmingly, the poor and working class have paid with their sons and daughters that suffered over there. Many who died, many who were maimed, many who came back, with PTSD and other conditions. Has it benefited the Afghani people? No. They're worse off now than when we entered 20 years ago in many ways. Who did it benefit? Well, it benefited the Taliban. They're doing quite well. The Taliban's doing so well that the United States is relying on them for security. Did it benefit, or it benefited the military-industrial complex, a bunch of defense contractors, generals, intel agencies that all got more money and power? That's always the case with this. So you should reject that. But with the Biden administration particularly, let's not act like they're trying to pretend, well, we should have withdrawn. I don't disagree, we should have withdrawn. The way in which the withdrawal happened is the problem. And these incompetents that did this, they're the same people, the same experts that we're told to trust, the same administration when it comes to COVID, when it comes to climate change. They're more concerned about being woke. They're not really planners. They're not really detail people. Oh, we'll just pull out, it'll be all right. So on one hand, if they couldn't foresee that the Taliban was going to take over, as Biden told us in July, then that's a failure of intelligence, or failure of the Biden administration. If they could foresee, and they were just shocked at how quick it was, think of what this means. So Kirby, what's his title? One of the top people in the Biden administration for the defense. He's the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, maybe. He comes out and he's like, says the other day, he's like, oh yeah, they were like, how did ISIS get free? Well, it turns out Bagram Air Force Base that we left, which was, General Miley said that was, we didn't need Bagram. So they just left it. Not only did that mean that we didn't have air support to get out the civilians and the Afghani allies, but what happened was we knew that that place was housing prisoners, including, according to Kirby, thousands of people in ISIS. But we just withdrew from the base. And he tries to blame the Afghan security forces. He's like, oh, well, we thought that they would be able to, hold that prison. Well, that's not what they're telling you the rest of the days. The rest of the days, the Biden administration's telling you, you know, we knew that eventually the Taliban would overrun. We're just shocked at how fast it came. Okay. Well, if that's the case, why would you rely on the Afghan security forces to protect a prison housing the worst people, ISIS? So let's say their estimation was, we were shocked that it fell in 11 days. We thought it would last 60 days. Okay, then if you were right and it did fall in 60 days, you would have still the net result of that would have been, the Biden administration's plan was knowing that thousands of ISIS prisoners would be released into the hands of the Taliban. That's best case scenario. That's under the Biden administration's own plan. That's insanity. And I had people say, well, what would you have done, Rob? I would have moved those prisoners. If I knew that if you were in any prison situation and you knew that eventually in the coming months an overwhelming force was going to break out these dangerous prisoners, you would move the prisoners. That's not difficult. A few thousand prisoners that are supposedly the worst people that we had to fight wars to capture. There's friendly countries, we could have put them in their prisons, we could have put them in places like Guantanamo, etc. But nope. Oh boy, and then ISIS attacked us. Oh, who could have saw it coming? The other thing with that statement that was shocking was, we keep being told after the suicide bombing that killed, 14 service members, and who knows how many other people, allies, innocent people, civilians, at the Kabul airport. We were told, oh, it wasn't the Taliban, it was ISIS. And of course, the Biden administration has to say that, because the Biden administration, we went from fighting the Taliban, we were told for 20 years we had to be there because the Taliban were such bad guys, we had to fight them. Now, all of a sudden, the Taliban's our allies. We have to trust them for security. So then when things predictably go wrong, and they're going wrong in many ways, but in the case of the ISIS bombing, we're told, oh, well, the Taliban, they don't like ISIS, so they're trying to keep ISIS out. But according to Kirby, it was the Taliban that broke the ISIS prisoners out of prison. So you mean to tell me, and by the way, they knew when Bagram closed, it was only a couple days before the Taliban freed those prisoners. So even after that, even after the Taliban freed ISIS prisoners, the Biden administration continued to rely on the Taliban to provide security, in large part against ISIS. And they're like, oh, they don't like them. So they freed them from prison, and now they're fighting them? That's the argument? And of course, no one in the media picks up on this. No one really calls out how absurd this is. Other things that we see Biden lying every day. Al-Qaeda's not there. Then his generals come out. Yeah, Al-Qaeda's there. It's nothing's stopping people from getting to the airport. Yeah, okay, there's a lot stopping. We'll be able to get the people even after the deadline. We don't know what we're going to do with the people after the deadline. And then we're supposed to believe that the same administration who had a failure of intelligence so bad. Now look, every administration, an individual attack could get through. You would like to think that your intelligence can prevent that, but it can't. Like, I'm willing to understand that. And I'm not blaming any administration that has a terror attack. But if your intelligence couldn't see that the military that you were propping up for 20 years was an abysmal failure, they just couldn't see it. Oh, we didn't know they would collapse that short. But I'm supposed to believe that those same intelligence people, after then we were attacked at the airport by ISIS, were able to identify the ISIS members responsible, that were still alive, bomb them, but they can't give us their names. Can't do that. We can't tell you their names. And then we find out, oh, it killed 9 innocent people, including a bunch of children and including an interpreter that worked with the United States Army. And the military comes out and they're like, oh, yeah, our bad. We still think we got some ISIS people. We're not sure what happened. And the media just toes the line. Oh, I had to listen to people crowing. Oh, see, Biden's tough on terrorism, see? We got attacked and he immediately took them out. How do you know? You're just taking them at their word? The same people that lied to us over and over this week? You just take them at their word. And of course that's what the media did. Of course that's what they did. Just like little parents, they didn't question it. Who was it? Oh, there was an explosion. Yep, that means that we did a good thing. Biden did it. If this was Bush, you'd have all these celebrities and all these people on the left calling Bush to be tried for war crimes. But it's Biden, so, oh well, some kids died. We think maybe we got a bad guy in the process of killing 9 innocent people. I mean, it's insane. That's who this administration is. Those are the people covered. And the last thing I'll say is this. When you hear people trying to pivot, like in the mainstream media, like CBS put an article out, climate change caused the rise of the Taliban. You want to know who caused the disaster in Afghanistan? It was the establishment. Yes, the way the withdrawal occurred, totally on Biden. But you know the generals, the intel agencies, the high-ranking people in the Republican and the Democratic Party, the media that covered for them for 20 years and spread the lie that everything was going well? They're more to blame than climate change, but nice to see CBS deflecting. And lastly, all of the people that voted for Biden for his foreign policy acumen and a return to normalcy, well, our allies think we're a joke now. Joe Biden can't stay awake in meeting with our allies. He didn't even bother to call them about the withdrawal. They're furious. They're censuring him and other things. They're publicly calling him out. Our enemies are laughing at us. They're becoming more aggressive because they know how weak Biden is, that he's just an empty suit. We do have a return to normalcy in, I guess, bombing innocent people. I guess that's normal. Terror attacks. There's a return to normalcy. Boy, it was nice for 4 years not to have to live with that stuff, huh? That was nice. And for all those that said, Joe Biden doesn't have cognitive decline, what are you talking? What cognitive decline? Well, this is what you get. So, I usually stream in the evenings, around 8 to 10 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch, so check me out there. And I'll be trying to put more videos up on YouTube. So thanks so much, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. As always, have a good one.